Arthur himself is on his way to Leonis to test the Four Knights of the Apocalypse to see just how much of a threat they are to him. It is prophesied that the Four Knights are supposed to defeat Arthur and in turn stop the Age of Chaos. However, what we need to look back and think about is the power of chaos itself. It's both incredibly terrifying in not just how it can create things, but how seemingly limitless this power actually is. We've seen it going out of control before in the Chaos arc of the Seven Deadly Sins, and now we're seeing more glimpses of this ability through the Chaos Knights and even Arthur himself. Before we get into this actual discussion, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really does help. Liking and subscribing as well as commenting down below really helps with the video in the algorithm, recommending it to more people to help the channel in the long run. Also, don't forget to check me out on Instagram and Twitter at the Greek Weeb to see when I upload next time as well, or even seeing what I do outside of videos, whether it be me talking about other series I'm reading that I don't cover on the channel, or just interacting with other creators and the like. Now, with all that out of the way, let's hit that intro and start this discussion. So, before we talk about the power itself, we need to talk about its origins. The power of chaos is essentially a near omnipotent being that was called just Chaos, and it was responsible for creating Britannia and the world itself, as well as the supreme deity, the Demon King, and the Great Fairy Tree, which are all near omnipotent beings, with the Demon King and the supreme deity literally being gods in the worlds of the Seven Deadly Sins, and the Great Fairy Tree created the fairy folk. We even got the Lady of the Lake, which knows a lot about chaos, its origins, and a lot of its secrets. Now, at the end of the Seven Deadly Sins, Arthur himself died, and thus he was revived when Merlin gave him all the power of chaos through a whole very big convoluted plan involving Demon King and the Sins defeating said Demon King to get everything set up to revive Arthur. Reviving Arthur ended up bringing him to life as the King of Chaos. And the first thing we see upon Arthur's reemergence and revival is how the world around them shifted and transformed and contorted into a chaotic mess and a nightmare, with multiple or bizarre creatures made from like the most bizarre nightmares. Sometimes even think that this series is even referencing Berserk with how detailed a lot of the creatures and dark imagery can be, as we also see in the Seven Deadly Sins as well. But when we first saw this power, it was literally godlike. Arthur was able to shift and change the world around them, and this was only with when he first awakened uncontrolled, and even upon his subconscious not controlling it, shifted the world how he wanted it, primarily the area around him. But that's the point I'm making. An untrained Arthur, without realizing it, shifted the world around him, and now we are 16 years later, and he is seemingly changing the world at whim, even seemingly creating a pocket dimension where Camelot is, with some very twisted designs and honestly just very messed up in terms of how neat it could be. Now, we don't see much of Arthur himself using his powers. However, in the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, we see that he gives this chaotic power to others. One instance is with the Chaos Wands that he gives to a lot of his knights. We see this in action with one of the knights during the Echo Gorge arc, where he transformed a human into a chaotic, poisonous beast, killing the forest that he was meant to protect due to the fact that he was living and helping fairies and giants, non-humans, and so against the decree of the King of Camelot, he was sentenced to be chaosified. That is not an actual term from the story, I just came up with that. It sounds cool until we get an actual term for it. I am calling it chaosify. But the idea to turn almost anything with this wand into a chaotic creature does give us the idea that this power can be given to others. Another instance with the chaos power is the fact that Arthur used it to help revive former members of the Ten Commandments. Now, if you don't remember, the Ten Commandments were the main villain group for basically the entirety of the Seven Deadly Sins, from their introduction towards the final arc of the series when they had to fight the Demon King and then later help with Arthur controlling chaos. These two characters that we got introduced to were Galen and Melascula. Galen was turned to stone and then was later killed, shattered to pieces, while Melascula had her powers and even personality removed from her, turning into a tiny snake that was in Merlin's possession. And in chapter 64, it is revealed that Melascula was revived with power infused by Chaos, changing her appearance slightly and giving her darkness powers a boost with Chaos magic. Now, this doesn't seem to affect the world around her, but you get to see it with her design and the thing that constantly surrounds her and she uses for attacks. She then uses her normal powers that could revive the dead with lingering attachment to the world, like Galen, and revives him, but he is also infused with Chaos power, allowing him to regrow his body from just the leftover of his head, and giving him a brand new hulking appearance with a power-up of Chaos. Now, what else these two can do with chaotic magic is still up in the air, as this is still like 2 chapters into their reintroduction. However, the idea of powering up characters with Chaos themselves, especially demons that were said to be incredibly powerful, and were once even strong enough to put down the 7 deadly sins and beat them on a multitude of occasions, really puts into perspective what else this could do. Shaping the world around it, even potentially creating like a pocket dimension, force field, or whatever, to the point where some people still believe Camelot is destroyed, while other kingdoms do believe that it is still around, but it's just hard to get to. Arthur can even turn inanimate objects into monsters. As we've seen during the Sistana arc, Ironside used some of the power of Chaos given to him by Arthur, along with the Coffin of Eternal Darkness, to turn animals, buildings, streets into beings of chaos. These things rampaged and attacked civilians to get enough sacrifices to activate the Coffin of Eternal Darkness. This wasn't even with a Chaos 1, mind you. It was potentially just a chant and small amount of power given to Ironside to activate this seal. So Arthur can give the power of Chaos to other people, but with how seemingly limitless this power is, due to the fact that it was essentially what created 2 literal deities and the world itself, the possibilities are endless. Not just powering up characters, but even altering their appearance, and potentially even mutating them, and making them lose their very personalities. Just like what happened in the Echo Gorge arc, and now tying this back to an old theory I made like over a year ago, back when this idea was first discovered and explored, is the potential that Arthur could use this on the Sins themselves. Now, it's very possible that those with a very strong will could resist being changed by Chaos. I mean, Galen and Melascula are relatively strong and have strong willpower, so it's possible that they're not complete puppets to Chaos, but were just manipulated to be and then given power enough for Arthur to keep them in check, but to help him get the revenge and help in taking down Leonis. That's something for another day. But what this can tie into is the fact that during the Peaks of Fear arc, when we're reintroduced to Gother, we learn that Arthur, with some of his knights, he promises them to revive their loved ones after the end of the Holy War or from demon attacks. Originally, we speculated when Galen and Melascula returned that Arthur revived them with Chaos, but that's not 100% true, as Melascula never died, and Melascula was known with power to revive the dead. So perhaps Arthur, while fully manifesting the power of Chaos, does want to try and revive the dead, as he did lose basically almost all of his citizens during the Holy War when the Commandments attacked, and especially during the battle at Camelot when they were battling the Demon King. So the idea of reviving the dead with Chaos is still out there, and is still possible to our knowledge, but Arthur seemingly has not done that yet, due to the fact that perhaps he does not fully understand how to do so. Since the power of Chaos created literal deities, as mentioned, and even humans themselves and all the other races, it is very possible that Arthur is still trying to figure everything out to potentially revive those that were lost, as the souls still linger in the afterlife, but just need bodies to return to. As seen with Melascula, as they would just be revived with, corpses. Some other aspects of Chaos would be when Ironside goes back to Arthur after failing. Arthur put him through a kind of grotesque and kind of horrifying form of what seems like torture for his failure, but was literally just done to help heal him and remove the poison in an instant, and him not feeling any pain afterwards. Which is honestly crazy with how much of a Swiss Army knife ability Chaos can be, as he could virtually do anything, and you could wonder, how are our heroes going to defeat Arthur in the end if he could basically do practically anything? But there is one slight image that I forgot to talk about during my previous chapter review on chapter 66, and something that I just realized after revisiting the chapter and looking through my previous videos. At the end of the Chaos arc, Arthur lost his right arm to Cath. Cath was another being of Chaos that was thirsting for the power of Chaos itself, and wanted to devour Arthur once he became the King of Chaos to obtain it. Now, Arthur in turn devoured Kath and regained the full power of chaos to himself. However, his arm remained gone. In the Curse My Light movie, it also seems that Arthur's arm was not regrown or recreated, and now, with a full image of Arthur walking in chapter 66, we realize that his arm is still missing, which could come into contact with the fact that perhaps Arthur can still yet create new objects. Perhaps he can create brand new life in the terms of creating brand new beings or even fully repairing others. He can lend power and shapeshift other creatures and objects, but he could not return his own arm. He can already generate his arm. Now, this could just be a creative choice by Nakaba and making it like a symbol of Arthur's resolve due to the fact that he lost his arm due to his own overconfidence in his previous ideals, and for now he literally just wants to leave his arm like gone for potentially just to show his resolve for his mission. Now, that could very well be the case until very well explained, but it's possible that maybe right now with Arthur, he has some limits to chaos in terms of not fully creating beings out of thin air, as he probably would have brought bodies back of the dead and then had Melaskula's power to fully bring them back from the afterlife, or maybe even do it himself. So right now, chaos is unlimited potential, and it's very terrifying with what we could do with it, potentially even altering our protagonists, our previous heroes, the Seven Deadly Sins, into amalgamated monsters of pure chaos that could do anything and they just lose their minds to just do destruction all in all. But we can't let go of the possibility that Arthur still can't fully 100% do everything he can with chaos, and that he still has some time to learn. It's only been 16 years, so it's very possible that Arthur hasn't fully mastered everything about chaos, and that could be something that he's working towards for the finale of the series or for the finale of his story arc. But honestly, yeah, that is everything I wanted to talk about with chaos. It's very unpredictable and it's terrifying with its capabilities and what it could potentially do. There does seem to be some sort of limitation. Perhaps it's a mental thing for Arthur due to the fact that he was human and technically is human just with the powers of a god and can't fully do everything yet. Or perhaps there are just some things that chaos cannot do. That's all speculation and cannot really be thought of without any more context clues or any more confirmation from Nakaba or the characters in the story itself. But what do you guys think about chaos? What do you think of its potential limitations and its honestly unlimited potential to do anything as shown throughout the story of the Seven Deadly Sins and Four Knights of the Apocalypse? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. I do read every comment and I try and interact as much as I possibly can, and a lot of you guys end up coming up with some really cool ideas and theories that really puts what I talk about into perspective, so I just love interacting with you guys. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell once more if you haven't already, as this does help the channel. The more interactions the video gets, the more we recommend it, and the more it'll help my channel grow. And if you want to support the channel more directly and see more videos like this and other and potentially even in-depth videos that are more in-depth, please check out my Patreon and my Ko-fi accounts. If you want to support the channel more directly, this does help ensure that I get more videos out, as well as make them in very increasing and consistent quality. So any and all help would be very much appreciated. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have an awesome day.